Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We will be opening up the phone lines in probably about 30 minutes. So if anybody's calling in now, feel free to call right back or hang tight backstage. What is up? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. So what we do here with the Sleuth Crew check-ins is just kind of go over things that you can expect from the channel, probably within the coming weeks, days. Some of the cases I've been looking at, some of the things we have planned, and then also whatever you guys got going on and however you feel you might be able to contribute. But today, something that I've been looking into, which is referred to as marijuana-induced psychosis. Now, this is a very strange thing to me. It's a very curious topic because me personally, I've been smoking marijuana since I was about 12 years old. So I've never had that experience. I've never witnessed it. But also, it has a lot to do with your age, too. So as an adolescent, if you're messing with today's marijuana, I guarantee it's a lot different than it was when I was an adolescent and experimenting with it. You know, it's just a different product. Good to see you, Kristen. Welcome in, Carrie, Cindy. And the three cases that I'm focusing in on right now, and these will be the cases that we attack with the drone, which we're about close to halfway with the drone fundraiser. But the three cases that we will look at will be Aiden Clune, Carly Lane Gousset, and Daniel Robinson, and also Chelsea Grimm. Now, all of these have something in common. These are people who were kind of showing signs of psychosis. They went missing in a rural area, never to be found again. But they also have a connection to marijuana. With Daniel, they found blunts in his apartment. Carly, she may have been smoking some really strong marijuana the night before she went missing, which induced psychosis. Aiden Clune, on his laptop, he has stickers that say indica, sativa. So they have that all in common. So I think we're going to learn a little bit about that, how you should react if you see that or if you're witnessing it. What are the signs? So Mustang, dox yourself, Sleuth, and no one else can. Right. It's all just fear. It's all fear. No, don't say my name. Good to see you, Mustang. Cindy Aquarian, what's up? Sensei, thank you so much for sponsoring today's live stream. I appreciate that. So let's go into some things that you can expect on the channel here. It has a lot to do with today's topic. I just wanted some help from you guys to kind of understand it a little bit better. So we're going to have 2 episodes of True Crime in the Morning back to back. So if you guys want to go watch part 1 between now and tomorrow morning, I recommend it if you're not familiar with this case, because we're going to dive right in. So 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, you can expect that tomorrow morning. And then Tuesday, we're going to take a look at the Aiden Clune case for the first time. Let's see what else we got. Oh, the new merch. Can you guys see? Oh, here, let me full screen this. Tell me that's not sick. Can you see it? Kind of. But yeah, Sleuth Crew merch. You can get that on sleuthintuition.com. Just put your size in the comments. And then when I give you a confirmation email, we'll just verify everything. It's today's thumbnail. And the fundraiser for the drone is going very well. We're at 33%, just shy of 700. These are the ways that you can help right here. Cash App. There's the information for that. And Zelle, first, last name, and then sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Thanks, Mustang. Yeah, appreciate that, Sensei. Okay, maybe we'll go to this article real quick. This is from National Institute of Mental Health. Sensei says, I think with today's super strength weed, if you have underlying mental health issues, it's very much can lead to psychosis and self-harm. Yeah, apparently that's one of the things is you kind of have to, I guess, be a little bit schizophrenic and not know it, maybe. It's kind of laying dormant. And then the marijuana acts as a trigger, I think. Okay, understanding psychosis. What is psychosis? Psychosis refers to a collection of symptoms that affect the mind where there has been some loss of contact with reality. During an episode of psychosis, a person's thoughts, perceptions are disrupted, and they may have difficulty recognizing what is real and what is not. Who develops psychosis? It is difficult to know the number of people who experience psychosis. Studies estimate that between 15 and 100 people out of 100,000 develop psychosis each year. Psychosis often begins in young adulthood when a person is in their late teens to mid 20s. However, people can experience a psychotic episode at younger and older ages as part of many disorders and illnesses. For instance, older adults with neurological disorders may be at higher risk for psychosis. Boston, good to see you. How are they producing super strength? Advanced nutrients, um, soil, cloning, just keeping all of the strong strains of marijuana. Yeah, they're getting pretty scientific with it. Aquarian. Hey, Sleuth, can you tell us about all the clocks in your video's background? I'm curious. Thank you. Well, this is an AI generated image. So I literally typed in psychosis. And then I added the cannabis leaf right here. And then put the Sleuth Crew logo and then the check in. It generated 4 images and they all, for whatever reason, had clocks. So I don't know if that's significant time. Not quite sure. What's up, Anna? Psychosis happens when parts of the brain are not working together. Improper feedback leads to inability to function properly. What are the signs and symptoms of psychosis? People with psychosis typically experience delusions, false beliefs, for example, that people on television are sending them special messages or that others are trying to hurt them, and hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that others do not, such as hearing voices telling them to do something or criticizing them. Other symptoms can include incoherent or nonsense speech and behavior that is inappropriate for the situation. Another thing that I've noticed is people that are suffering from psychosis, they don't really understand personal space, because they're being violated in their personal space in their mind. So then they start violating other folks' personal space. However, a person will often show changes in their behavior before psychosis develops. And this is what I was talking to you guys about the other day. Behavioral warning signs for psychosis include suspiciousness, paranoid ideas, or uneasiness with others, trouble thinking clearly and logically, withdrawing socially and spending a lot more time alone, unusual or overly intense ideas, strange feelings, or a lack of feelings, decline in self care or personal hygiene, disruption of sleep, including difficulty falling asleep and reduced sleep time, difficulty telling reality from fantasy, confused speech or trouble communicating, sudden drop in grades or job performance. In some cases, alongside these symptoms, a person with psychosis may also experience more general changes in behavior that include emotional disruption, anxiety, lack of motivation, difficulty functioning overall. Yeah, you never know these days, Mustang, for real. Yeah. Strange thing about Mother Nature, Mustang, is it seems to be always evolving, just seems to be the name of the game. You got it, Aquarian? Sensei, this happened to a friend of mine's kid. It went real bad, turned to a double murder and unaliving. Yeah, it's real. So what it is, it's an indication of schizophrenia. So if you're smoking marijuana for the first time and you have an adverse effect and it induces psychosis, it's probably a sign that you are schizophrenic. You got it? In some cases, a person experiencing a psychotic episode may behave in a confusing and unpredictable ways and may harm themselves or become threatening or violent towards others. The risk of violence and suicide decreases with treatment of psychosis. So it is important to seek help. If you find that you are experiencing these changes in behavior or notice them in a friend or family member and they begin to intensify or do not go away, reach out to a healthcare provider. Because if they go ignored, in my opinion, that's how we end up with these true crime cases or unsolved mysteries, just like Aiden Clune, Daniel Robinson, and Carly Gousset. Hey, Carrie. I work in a psych hospital as a clinical social worker and see substance induced psychosis much more with fake weed or Tucci. Yeah, I had a really good friend. His little sister became addicted to meth, and she became, I believe, schizophrenic. She thought that there were hidden messages in the radio, being broadcast through the radio. Yeah, she eventually died in a car accident. Let's go to Bobcat. Welcome in, Bobcat. Fake government gaslighting people does this. I don't know. I've never experienced it. I'm a pro marijuana guy. It's been great for me. But I think people just being ignorant to it don't realize that it's not for everyone. It can have adverse effects on people. What's up, Chopper? So I just want to bring awareness to that. This video is not to say marijuana is bad or good. It's just to say that this is something that can happen. What causes psychosis? There is no one cause of psychosis. Psychosis appears to result from a complex combinations of genetic risk, differences in brain development, and exposure to stressors or trauma. Psychosis may be a symptom of a mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or severe depression. However, a person can experience psychosis and never be diagnosed with schizophrenia or any other disorder. For older adults, psychosis symptoms can be part of a physical or mental illness that emerges later in life. Psychosis can also be a symptom of some diseases of older age, including Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, and related dementias. Other possible causes of psychosis include sleep deprivation, certain prescription medications, and the misuse of alcohol or drugs. A mental illness such as schizophrenia is typically diagnosed by excluding these other causes. Okay, so that's the basic outline of what psychosis is. I did pull a few videos that will also help us understand this a little better.
Top drug experts are now voicing concern that teenagers are getting their hands on these new next-gen products that come in all shapes and forms. And their worry is that the THC levels are so high, it can lead to teens suffering psychotic episodes. Here's Steve Patterson.
With more than 7,000 dispensaries nationwide, the $20 billion marijuana industry is growing so fast, some state regulators say it's even outpacing alcohol sales. The cannabis choices are growing too, with new products like wax or shatter now available. They're sold in fruity flavors and have levels of THC, the compound in marijuana that makes you high, that can be 8 times higher than the pot of 20 years ago, according to state regulators. And that's made some Colorado parents like Sydney Block and Janet Corneal terrified.
It was scary. She was slurring her words. She wouldn't wake up.
Sydney smoked weed when she was younger and says she couldn't believe her daughter Jasmine's reaction was from marijuana.
I was like, there's no way that this is just weed.
Janet said she didn't know what her son Will was using.
I had no idea, I'll be honest with you.
Their teens, 18-year-old Will and 19-year-old Jasmine, were both taking marijuana concentrates, using what's called dabbing to get high.
And when I was first really getting into high-potency THC, I don't think I ever had to pay money for it.
You just got it handed.
Yes.
I can't be a coherent, functioning human being when I was under the influence of all the stuff I was using, predominantly high concentrated THC.
Dabbers use blowtorches to heat up rigs, or they vape the concentrated wax or shatter.
One dab could be equivalent to smoking an entire bowl.
These pot concentrates, with flavors like Fruit Frenzy, are legal for adults in Colorado, but not for kids under 21.
It did get to the point where it was like, if I don't smoke weed today, like, I'm not doing anything.
I couldn't wake up. I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't do anything without it. Got so dependent.
Will and Jasmine found support at a Denver public high school called 5280 that's designed for kids in recovery.
The amount of
let's go to this comment right here real quick from Boston Christian. Does any dispensary weed come out of Mexico? I don't think so. Usually it's grown locally or by the dispensary itself. You know, they might have a back warehouse where they're growing their own house stuff and then getting other stuff from local growers. I don't think any of it's coming from Mexico, though. I don't think so.
THC that's coming into their system is causing severe psychiatric symptoms such as suicidality and even psychotic breaks.
New state data shows the sale of these high THC products in Colorado has increased by over 150% since 2016. The federal government says THC concentrates are more likely to produce anxiety, agitation, paranoia, and psychosis. Today, Will and Jasmine are both sober and have some advice for the cannabis industry.
Rather than putting so much time and effort into like making more and more and more potent things until we have 100% THC or whatever, I think that it is possible to spend more time and effort into looking into how to protect our youth.
Yeah, but I mean, it's big business, you know. Big business is promoted by profits. They only care about health. You know, that's when the government, that's their role. You know, we don't need all this bureaucratic red tape, but, you know, they need to step in when business is kind of getting out of line, where they're not taking health into consideration at all, you know. Just one time, Mustang? Just from one time, huh? Good to see you, Charlotte. T Lemon, welcome. Weed has never been enjoyable for me. I've had some bad experiences. That's why I stick to certain strains too. But yeah, I've had instances where my heart rate got really high, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell's going on?" All right, now we're going to look at a case. Oh no, I had 2 videos. I think I lost the other one. Yeah, maybe this one will do it justice.
Case.
Okay, now this video is titled "SoCal Woman Avoids Prison for Fatal Stabbing During Weed-Induced Psychosis."
Brutal stabbing of a Thousand Oaks man by the woman he'd gone on a date with. Experts testified that she did it while in a cannabis-induced psychosis.
Sentence handed down this week spared the woman of any time behind bars. The victim's father now speaking out. Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero joins us now with more.
Ellen and David, this is a case that goes back almost 6 years now. The defendant was quite literally caught red-handed. So the question was never about, did she do this? It was entirely a matter of, did she have any control over what she was doing? After sitting through countless court appearances, today Chad O'Melia's father woke up in another state, trying to put this long legal road behind him. Chad was killed Memorial Day 2018 in this Thousand Oaks apartment by Bryn Spacer, a woman he had just started dating.
He just met the wrong person at the wrong time, and the wrong conditions prevailed, and he lost his life because of it.
The two were smoking marijuana that night, the trial revealed. At some point, both sides agreed Spacer was overcome by a cannabis-induced psychosis, which brought the original murder charge down to involuntary manslaughter. For 5.5 years, O'Melia's family has waited for accountability, and according to legal expert Nima Rahmani, they had every reason to expect it would look like prison.
I mean, this case is so unique because if I use marijuana and I get behind the wheel of a car and I accidentally kill someone, I'm going to be sentenced to state prison.
Instead, the Ventura County judge sentenced Spacer to 2 years probation and 100 hours of community service.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think if you're driving while intoxicated, yes. But if you smoke marijuana and you get in your car and you try to ram it through your own house for whatever reason, I think that's different. It's not like you try to drive somewhere and you were just so high that you caused an accident. No, you purposely got in that vehicle because you're suffering from a mental health situation, and then you committed the act. So I think it's different, right? So I don't agree with that guy.
There's nothing good that's come out of this for anybody.
What would
And
justice have looked like for your son?
I think it would have looked like the system worked. I mean, there are people that are in prison right now that have done much less than what this girl has done.
A more typical sentence would have been 2 to 4 years, according to Rahmani. It was a guilty verdict, but in some ways it also was an acquittal, wasn't it?
It really was. Even though the jurors returned a guilty verdict on the top count of involuntary manslaughter, Bryn ended up getting a slap on the wrist.
She expressed remorse and regret in court. When asked today, her defense attorney didn't have an additional comment. During trial, her team noted the fact that she stabbed herself and even her dog.
Yeah, so it's not like she plotted against this man. She tried to kill herself. She was attacking anybody and everything around her, even her own dog. Like, she had no clue what the hell she was doing. It's like, it's a very tough case. But I think a lot of folks that go missing, that same thing is happening to them. They're hearing voices, they're having delusions, they're highly motivated for whatever reason, to do things like take off their clothes and to walk very long distances. We're talking over 10 to 20 miles in some cases.
At night to show that she was not in control.
I'm going to concede that she didn't intentionally try to kill my son, but she has some unique attribute about her. And I don't say that in a derogatory sense. I say that in a factual sense that made this happen. She needs to understand why it happened and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Now, we asked if she plans to do so voluntarily, but did not get a clear answer.
Very strange case. I had another video on that case. Maybe I put it somewhere else. Hold on.
Just last week, a judge ruled that a 32-year-old California woman did not need to serve prison time for stabbing her boyfriend to death during what prosecutors called a cannabis-induced psychosis.
A study showed disorders triggered by cannabis use are increasing. That's according to data from the healthcare analytics company Truveta. Rates of cannabis-induced disorders grew more than 50% between 2019 and November of last year. So to help us understand the link between cannabis use and mental health, let's bring in Dr. David Schreiber. He's a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist and the CEO and co-founder of Compass Health Center. Thanks for joining us. So we were talking, Vlad and I and Tony Jacob were talking much earlier in the show about like the cannabis that is available now. It ain't your grandmother's cannabis, right? It's not the cannabis from like 1969, much more potent. When people say, give me a break, it's just a little bit of weed.
Okay, now I know why I didn't add this video. This guy right here gets a little political. That's not what I'm trying to do today. Okay, I did bookmark a couple articles I wanted to go over, and then we'll open everything up for discussion. This one's from Newsweek. Maybe I can zoom it in for you guys. All right. This one's titled, I Lost My Sweet Son to Marijuana. It Devastated Him. Drugs, not jugs. That's funny. My son Nick was an adorable, sweet child. He was always mistaken for Justin Bieber and loved skateboarding. He excelled at any sport he tried, so he never stayed with one very long, except basketball. As a teenager, he loved his clothes and his sneaker collection. Nick's father and I divorced when he was 3 years old. He and his brother lived with me on Cape Cod until middle school, when they moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts with their dad. I didn't know Nick's exposure to cannabis would be so easy. It isn't something we would have condoned, but kids find ways to smoke with each other, and it's legal in Massachusetts. He admitted to me his senior year of high school that he smoked marijuana with his friends instead of going to train for one of his most important sports matches in October. A month later, he argued with his father about not doing homework and ran away from home. When I called around to parents and his friends, they told me that Nick should not smoke marijuana. He was living in a stairwell, eating one hamburger a day. They said he acted strange when he was high on marijuana and said bizarre things. Nick confided in me that he might commit suicide that December, so he was hospitalized for a month. He turned 18 while inside the hospital, so Nick was released without them informing us of his diagnosis because the law prohibited us from knowing anything medical without his permission. So right there, I think there should be laws in place where there should be like a gray line. Let's say you're 17, you're under your parents' care, and you're going through a situation and you transition into adulthood. You're still under that situation, that mental health issue. I think there should be something in place there where you have some protections if you're under medical care, where they can't just boot you out, because that doesn't change the circumstances or the situation. Just because yesterday you were 17 and now today you're 17, now you don't need the treatment and you fall under a different category. Doesn't seem right. Then the pandemic hit. Nick finished high school with the Zoom graduation, and he was supposed to attend a construction supervisor course at MIT, but it was canceled because of the pandemic. He never went to a college class nor kept any of his jobs, and for more than a month, he began isolating himself and taking 8-hour walks alone in the city. Nick ran away again on April 12th, 2022, which triggered a missing and endangered case, including search dogs and hundreds of interviews. No one knew where he went, nor the circumstances around his disappearance, right? That's how it always starts. Sometimes they don't ever come out of the woods or come walking back out of the desert. When he returned in July 2022, he was 20 pounds thinner and spoke about electronics inside of our phones and remotes that control our minds. He was convinced the lawyers and judges in his case were bigger than the FBI. I asked him if he meant the CIA or the DEA, and he shook his head and said no, much bigger. I knew he was not able to tell reality from delusion. He spoke with strange head and body movements, invading people's personal space, sometimes erupting with extreme mood swings and others with a monotone voice and no expression. He would speak like a robot and swivel his head strangely. We found out later why he did this. His family was in shock and were unprepared for the new Nick, who was not the same person. He told us he went to climb trees in the hills without clothes on that winter to hear the voices in his head more clearly. So I thought that was very interesting. I'm going to read that part again because we recently did a live stream on why people take off their clothes during, these crises while under psychosis. I'm going to read this paragraph one more time. His family was in shock and were unprepared for this new Nick, who was not the same person. He told us he went to climb trees in the hills without clothes on that winter to hear the voices in his head more clearly. So later on in the article, it discusses how he became extremely paranoid. Eventually, his father had to sleep near him. And then while that was going on, he began to attack his father in the sleep, trying to harm him and basically try to kill him. At one point, he had to be rescued. His father had to be rescued by the neighbors after screaming for help. Yep, that's right, Sensei. Throwaway people, drug addicts, those with mental health issues, law enforcement, even prostitution, homeless. As soon as law enforcement hears that, they just are not that dedicated. Not all, but most. You know what I mean? Yeah, we get it. Good to see you, Charlotte. Mustang, my youngest brother has to be in a care center because he's delusional. Not sure what his exact diagnosis is, but he does good when he's on meds, but he won't take them when he's on his own. Yep, and that's when tragedy strikes. And sometimes meds will cause the issue. Good to see you, V. Yeah, we just need to be educated, Hey, Cindy, appreciate everyone sharing their stories. You can see how common this is. In the past, people were ashamed to ask for help. Yeah, the stigma. My hope is that this changes. In a lot of cases, these folks don't even know that they're suffering from it. So you could be having these symptoms and not even know it. You just slowly start to alienate yourself from your family and friends, and they're like, I don't know, I haven't really spoken to him in a while. So you can't observe these symptoms. It's really an awful thing. Mm. Yeah, I agree, Sensei. Right, let me see. I thought I had something else here for you guys. Is this it? Okay, yeah. I think this was a Yale study. The growing legalization of cannabis across the United States, in addition to the frequent use of cannabis by individuals with psychosis, has led to many questions and concerns about the impacts. The following is a summary of the latest research finding regarding the link between cannabis and psychosis. Risks of psychosis from cannabis use. Studies have shown that THC in cannabis can cause short-term psychosis until the drug is metabolized in the body. If exposed to cannabis in adolescence, research shows individuals are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop schizophrenia spectrum disorder than if you were not exposed. Not everyone who uses cannabis develops psychosis, and not everyone with psychotic disorder was exposed to cannabis. Consider avoiding or delaying use of cannabis until after the age of typical expression, onset of the illness at least 25 years of age. So that's the recommendation. If you're interested in it, maybe start around that age. Those initially diagnosed with a cannabis-induced psychosis have greater rates of developing schizophrenia over the long term. Frequency and amount, time of exposure, duration of exposure, and potency of cannabis all impact amount of risk for psychosis associated with cannabis use. Greater frequency and duration, earlier first use, and higher potency THC equals a greater risk of psychosis. Daily and higher potency cannabis leads to increased risk of psychosis. Today's cannabis tends to be more potent, higher levels of THC than several decades ago. 15% of new cases of psychosis are attributable to cannabis use. I'm noticing that there is that connection too with a lot of these missing people. The risk for developing schizophrenia spectrum disorders is greatest with cannabis, although other substances such as amphetamines, hallucinogens, opioids, sedatives also increase the risk. So that's interesting to know that out of all of the drugs, cannabis, they're saying here in this study, will put you at the most risk. Cannabis use after the onset of psychosis is associated with more non-adherence to treatment, more hospitalizations, more ER visits, more relapses, more legal problems, more homelessness. So I think the word I was looking for earlier was hypertension. Usually when I have a bad reaction with a marijuana strain, it causes hypertension. In regard to the self-medication hypothesis, cannabis use may result in a very temporary reduction in distress associated with psychotic symptoms. However, cannabis use makes symptoms of psychosis worse in the moment and over the long term. Here's another good example. Did you guys hear the recent case of Troy Coleman? This is a pretty odd story here. It's good and bad news, in my opinion. Troy Coleman, missing out of Flint, Michigan. Last seen May 21st, 2024. 6'4", 180 pounds. So this case started just like any other missing person, right? Big search, big effort, big push by the loved ones. Well, come to find out, this dude is still alive. And they caught him on a live stream. Look how different he looks. He's like skin and bones. What's up, Whiskey Boots? So yeah, this dude's obviously suffering from something, and he's just out doing his own thing. Looks like he's got some bruising too. So I know the family of Aiden Clune, they believe he could be alive, and we'll talk about that on Tuesday. But this just goes to show you, yeah, it very well could be. Oh, I agree, Sensei. I agree 100%. Yeah, welcome in, Whiskey. Yep. They found him alive. He looks like he's been abusing drugs, not eating very well. He doesn't seem to be picking at his own skin, so maybe he's just suffering, just kind of lost out there. Yeah, that's true, Anna. So Aiden Clune's vehicle. These are the items that were found. He literally just stopped his truck, got out, and started walking. They tracked him at least 10 miles, but I guarantee he went much further. But one thing I noticed is on his laptop, right here says indica and sativa, which are the two types of marijuana that you can get. Some drone footage over Carly Gousset's neighborhood. Now, with her case, this is Chalfont Valley, California. Now, the day before she went missing, she went to a party, smoked marijuana, and immediately went into like an episode. She called her stepmom, I need you to come pick me up. And she went running down the street. Stepmom found her running down the street, brought her home, and she was talking kind of incoherently. She wanted to read the Bible. She felt like people were trying to kill her. They actually have a recorded conversation. She wanted to record the conversation so she can show it to her the next day, kind of as a learning lesson, the dangers of doing drugs. But by 5:30 a.m. in the morning, she woke up and wandered off. Two neighbors saw her, or no, one of the neighbors saw her leaving, wearing a white shirt and gray sweatpants, and then another witness saw her leaving, going south near the highway. So I don't know if it was the first time she ever smoked marijuana, but the second that she did, it changed everything. I don't know if it was laced. The point of today's live stream is it doesn't have to be laced. I think that's the point. So this will be our 10-minute warning. So if you guys have anything to add, anything you want to discuss. Yeah, synthetic. That's that stuff Garrett Kurtz was always talking about. Yep, that's true, Anna. All right, guys, don't forget, Tuesday, we'll be looking at the Aiden Clune case. This will be our first time kind of diving into this case, and we hope to go help with the search as soon as we can. Same goes for Carly Gousset. Part 2 will be tomorrow morning. So I'll see all of you guys there. If you want to hit up the new Sleuth Crew merch, I think they're priced at $30, free shipping. You can only get those at the sleuthintuition.com. Put your sizes in the comments and we'll get them out to you ASAP. If you guys want to participate in the fundraiser, there you go. Hit the Cash App and the Zelle. We are officially at $695. Our original goal was $2,100, but I don't think we need to go that high. I think we're eyeballing another drone. We may only need to go to 16 or 17. But I'm still kind of educating myself on what we need, what will be the best choice, and what their capabilities are. So I'm doing my homework, but we'll set the goal high, but I think it's going to need to be closer to 26, 28. But either way, we're already at 33%, which is incredible. So shout out to all of you guys who have donated. Deidra, Abby's grandma, Laura, Purdue, Dawn Spain, Elizabeth B., Phil Bond, Willow Rain, Elizabeth B., Robin, Return the Diamonds, Kitty Wombalista, Hot Sauce, Sandra F., Melinda K., Deidra again, TJ, Stephanie R., Melinda K., Blind Squirrel, and Deidra again. So shout out to all of you guys. What is up, CJK? Yep, sometimes it's just good to talk about these kind of things. You want to be shy about them, but sometimes you got to just go for it. Kenneth Hill. All right, I will. And feel free to shoot me any emails if you want to, Anna, or anybody, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. We're always looking for unsolved mysteries like this, you know, those cases that are just kind of thrown under the rug. People who might have drug addiction in their past, prostitution, maybe come from a low income area, things like that. A lot of these cases are pushed because the family gets involved, you know. They get involved and they put that pressure on local law enforcement and investigators to get out there and do things, especially bringing attention and making it a high profile case. But a lot of these other cases, they just get swept under the rug. Oh, they were addicted to drugs. They wandered off. They probably died in the wilderness. You know, one day we'll find them. And then while this entire time, the family and friends are crying and suffering, and whatever happened to them could be happening to other people. People don't just go missing. That much I do know. What's up, Jerry? All right, guys, I think that's going to do it. If you want to hang out for the outro, that's up to you. Replay crew, please drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about today's topic. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to discuss Carly Gousset's case. Take care. Thank you for watching the Sleuth Intuition channel. If you are part of the replay crew, you know what to do. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay in the loop. Sleuth Intuition is 100% crowdfunded. If you want to support me and help my channel grow, here are 3 ways that you can help. Number 1, Cash App. The funds go directly to me without YouTube taking a percentage. Number 2, become a member. Members are by far the leading contributors to my channel. Number 3, hit up the merch shop. Represent the Sleuth crew on these ruthless streets. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. Until next time, peace.